Hello and welcome to Computer Tech and More. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Cooler Master SF120m RGB fan. This is part of my redone series where I redid my noise testing analysis on all of my previous fans that I've tested. It's more than 50 fans in total. And let's go into what changed. We have the original testing methodology with the rank of the fan originally, the fan model, the RPM was running, and the error and the air speed that it was producing in each test. And then we have the new testing methodology with its new rank, model, and all that same details. All right, so as we're taking a look at this testing, I've highlighted some Cooler Master fans on here. We have the Cooler Master SF120m non-RGB. It was originally ranked 6th, spinning at 1,858 RPM, moving 1.8 meters per second of air. It is now ranked 3rd, spinning at 1,529 RPM and moving 1.4 meters per second of air. The Master Fan SF120m RGB originally was ranked 7th. It is now ranked 27th. So that is a huge drop in performance despite these two fans sharing the same model number. It just shows for consistency's sake. The Master Fan SF120p RGB was originally ranked 22nd. It is now ranked 9th. And the Mobius 120p RGB was originally ranked 1st. It is now ranked 2nd. In the cooler testing, noise normalized. And the cooler testing, 100% PWM fan signaling, the Master Fan SF120m was originally 22nd and retains that position. The Master Fan SF120m RGB was originally 22nd and retains that position. The SF120p was originally 16th and retains that position. Mobius OC, or Mobius ARGB, was originally ranked 9th and retains that position. Cooler value proposition, noise normalized. The Master Fan SF120m was originally 26th and is now ranked 32nd. The Master Fan SF120m ARGB was originally 31st, is now ranked 44th, so a drop in position. The SF120p was originally 41st, it is now ranked 34th, it has gone up in position. The Mobius 120p was originally 21st, it is now ranked 31st. Cooler value proposition, 100% PWM fan signaling. SF120m was originally 45, it retains that position. The SF120m ARGB was originally 47th and retains that position. The Master Fan SF120p was originally 44th, it retains that position. And there's the Mobius ranked 41st and retains that position. CFM Testing, noise normalized. The SF120m was originally ranked 6th, it is now ranked 2nd. The SF120m RGB was originally ranked 7th, it is now ranked 29th. So I got a different sample for the new one, and it shows some differences in consistency with Cooler Master's manufacturing processes. Master Fan SF120p was originally ranked 26th, it is now ranked 21st, and the Mobius was ranked 4th and is now ranked 5th. At 100% PWM fan signaling, the SF120m was originally 22nd and retains that position. The SF120m ARGB was originally 28th and retains that position. The SF120p was originally 28th and retains that position, and the Mobius was originally 12th and retains that position. 6-inch mark, case simulation test, noise normalized. The Master Fan SF120m was ranked 5th, it is now ranked 4th. The Master Fan SF120m ARGB was ranked 7th and is now ranked 22nd. So again, I got some consistency concerns about this fan. The Master Fan SF120p was ranked 26th, it is now ranked 15th. And the Mobius 120p was ranked 4th and is now ranked 10th. 11-inch mark, noise normalized. Case simulation test, the SF120m was ranked 5th, it is now ranked 1st. The SF120m ARGB was ranked 7th and is now ranked 21st. The SF120p was ranked 24th, it is now ranked 23rd. And the Mobius 120p was ranked 1st and is now ranked 3rd. Value proposition, SF120m was ranked 27th. SF120m ARGB was ranked 36th, it's now ranked 46th. The SF120p was ranked 43rd, it is now ranked 39th. The Mobius 120p ARGB was ranked 24th, it is now ranked 33rd. 11-inch mark, value proposition, noise normalized. The Master Fan SF120m was ranked 18th and now is ranked 15th. The SF120m ARGB was ranked 26th, it is now ranked 35th. The SF120p ARGB was ranked 36th, it is now ranked 32nd. And the Mobius 120p ARGB was ranked 12th and is now ranked 21st. Now we're on to the specific tests. And the first one is the case simulation test. The case simulation test can be looked at in a couple key different ways, but the first one and most important to you, the viewer, is probably what size case do you actually plan on buying. So the 6-inch, I measured at 4 key locations, the 6, the 9, the 11, and the 14.5 inch mark. And those are representative of average cases within those sizes. So 6-inch mark is representative of a small form factor case. Now, not the ultra compact ones like the Fractal Design Terra, which sucks in air from the sides, blows it out the top, or sucks in air from the bottom, blows it out the top. Nothing like that. I'm talking a small form factor that is still a front to back airflow design with an air cooler that's basically sucking in the air in the same direction, not a side intake. The 6-inch mark is also representative of a short throw distance. By that, I'm referring to putting case fans on the bottom of your case and have them blowing air up towards your GPU. That would be a short throw distance. So the 6-inch mark is also representative of that. The 9-inch mark is representative of a compact tower. Now, I don't have a specific one in mind other than maybe like a Dell Optiplex. This is just a very compact tower, basically something that can fit technically a ATX motherboard, but the GPU length would be limited to basically the exact length of your motherboard, of that ATX motherboard. So ultra compact or fairly compact with regard to modern GPUs. The 11-inch mark is representative of a mid-tower case. So pretty much like Corsair 500 series from like their Obsidian days. I'm not sure about their current numbering scheme, but basically something like that, or maybe the Fractal Design Meshify 2C would be fitting into that category. And then we have the 14.5-inch mark, and this would be representative of large towers, something that can hold like eATX motherboards, extraordinarily long graphics cards, that sort of rigmarole in terms of case design. The Fractal Design Torrent fits into this size category, comparable. So let's go to the next graph. On here we have noise normalized distance from the fan versus air speed. This teal color line is my control fan. The control fan is 3 parts A12X25 and 1 part A14. 140mm class fans tend to do better at the 11 and 14.5-inch mark because they are bigger fans. So by blending the two fans, I got my best composite fan that, well, I can think of on the market. So anything over it is considered a good or very good fan. Anything that basically matches it, you consider a good fan. Anything that's underneath it would be considered, may not be considered necessarily bad, but definitely suboptimal. So now all of that said, the SF120m ARGB is down here. So definitely in the poorer performance mark, but its overall line graph isn't that bad. Meanwhile, the non-RGB version is right up here and definitely in excellent category. Meanwhile, the Mobius is sitting above it, also performing quite admirably well. And the SF120p starts off okay and then drops off to 0 because it is more of a pressure-oriented fan. How about at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, the ARGB version of the SF120m is sitting underneath my control fan, spinning at 1970 RPM at 22.7 decibels. So it's an okay result at its maximum. The non-RGB version, on the other hand, is sitting a little bit over my control fan, though not by much, so it is definitely a great pick in terms of that. Definitely a very good performer overall. And for whatever reason, it's operating slightly less noisy. So again, just some concerns about consistency within Cooler Master's overall production capability within making their fans. So you may end up with a lemon and you may end up with an orange. So you may have to cycle through them a couple times with returns if you get a lemon. And if I ever get around to it, I will retest the ARGB one to see if I can get myself an orange rather than a lemon. What was the purple line? The Mobius, I don't know why I cut off. Anyways, the Mobius is doing quite excellent here. And what else? Oh, and here's the SF120p sitting right at the bottom. So now how do they compare against a lot of other fans I've tested? Well, right up here, we have the ARGB SF120m. I should give a couple other notable notes real quick. Right here, this light green line, This is the Wonder Snail. I consider this the bottom end of the good fans, and the reason for that is its excellent performance at the 14.5-inch mark. It just creates a very flat line, especially considering that it's a 120mm class fan. Truly an excellent result. It doesn't have the highest airflow at the 6-inch mark, but again, that 14.5-inch mark. So I consider that the bottom end of a good fan. And then right up here at the top, we have like the General Typhoon, which I consider an excellent fan, being at the top of the graphs. So, and then what is considered a terrible fan, anything that's down here close to the NFS12B. Oh, excuse me. So, now that that is said, the SF120m RGB is down here, so definitely not a top pick, but not a horrendous result either. So then we have the non-RGB one. It is sitting right here at the top, competing with the Gentle Typhoon. As a matter of fact, at the 11-inch mark, it is doing better than the Gentle Typhoon, and there are very few fans better than at the 14.5-inch mark, making it a truly excellent pick with regard to that. As for the other fans, you can see them on here. We have the P, the SF120p is the screen line, and it drops off pretty steadily. So let's just move on to 100% PWM fan signaling. So right here we have the Masterfan SF120m regular, and the only reason that it's lacking or lagging behind some of these top end fans is that it just doesn't have the same sort of RPM that some of these better fans have. But it puts up an excellent fight, still sitting in a very high caliber of fan. The SF120m RGB is sitting right here, again, towards the bottom end of the good fans. So again, just some consistency, and the SF120p is sitting way down here. Mind, it starts off okay, so at the 6-inch mark, it would do perfectly fine. So for smaller cases, short throw distances, it's perfectly fine. But as the case gets bigger, it proves itself to be very inadequate. And next, noise testing. The 9-inch mark was chosen because a lot of fans tend to drop off quickly at the 9-inch mark than the 11-inch mark. So I needed a airspeed that was higher than 0.5 meters per second, where my consistency in my current anemometer is high enough. So anything under 0.5, it just becomes less consistent at getting good readings. So I needed to pick a location where the airspeed is still high enough, while still being able to show good differences between good airflow fans and poor performing fans. So the 9-inch mark was chosen for that. So right here, we have the Masterfan SF120m non-RGB sitting right at the top of the graph, except for at its lower RPMs, but it quickly accelerates to the very tippy top. Most of the fans on here I would consider to be good fans in their own right, but sitting at the top puts you in the best, puts you at close to the bottom, so bottom right, puts you in the worst. So noise is the horizontal, airspeed is the vertical, so you want the most amount of airspeed for the least amount of noise. And the RGB version is this dark blue line, and this joggle, I'm going to call it joggle, is where I hit a harmonic frequency within the fan. So basically just something inside of it just vibrate a little bit, and it creates a spike in noise level before it comes back to normal, and then we got a nice, well, not so nice, because it's pretty noisy. It doesn't climb as well as the non-RGB one. So it's either manufacturing problems or differences, or because of differences being in the RGB, making it a little bit on the noisy side. So do note that this may be the case that some RGB fans may be noisier than their non-RGB counterparts. And it's up to you to decide if that's worth it or not. The SF120p is sitting right here, overall performing kind of in the middle of the pack for these fans. Its only limitation is its lower peak RPM. And on here we have the T30 kind of sitting right at the bottom of the graph. Next up, we have airspeed through my CPU or cooler. My cooler is the Noctua U12A. It is a single tower cooler, and I do all the testing with just one fan attached to it. My control fan is sitting right here in this blue line. And I know this might be a little bit complicated, so we're going to try to talk our way through it. Oh, I got two reds in here. At least they're a little bit different. So we got the SF120m RGB sitting right there, operating fairly well. And then in the darker red, this was a mistake on my part, I do apologize. SF120m, it's still operating a little bit over my control fan. Matter of fact, lining it up. So this first graph on the left is an RPM versus airspeed. So it's a blade efficiency. It's how good is this blade design at actually pushing air through an air cooler. So having it be higher top left as opposed to lower bottom right does prove a better blade efficiency design. And you want to look at it across a wide variety of RPMs. On the right side here, we have noise versus airspeed through the same cooler. So this is how noisy is that fan for pushing that air through it, and noise is the horizontal axis. So the ARGB version of the SF120m is particularly noisy. It is very unfortunate with regard to that. The regular version, on the other hand, is quite good. It's actually outperforming my control fan by a pretty significant margin overall. The Mobius 120p is also outperforming my control fan at many different airspeeds or RPMs. And the Mobius is also proving itself to be an excellent pick. Now, how do they compare against other fans? This isn't all the fans I've tested. I needed to do a subsample selection for fans that made sense for this particular testing. So I do have them selected and narrowed down for that. SF120m ARGB is definitely sitting in a suboptimal position. It's, again, not a terrible result, but it just is showing some consistency or differences in ARGB. I definitely will be looking at acquiring a second one and doing another retest. I do several passes. This is just where it ended up. I plan on getting a second sample to retest it to see if, well, it's consistent with regard to that. The Masterfan SF120p definitely sits in a upper echelon category. It's performing quite well, just a little bit below the A12X25. The SF120m non-RGB is sitting over the A12X25, so it's definitely a great performer. And the Mobius 120p is sitting right at the top of the graph. How are things looking at 100% PWM fan signaling? Well, the SF120m non-RGB and the RGB version are effectively equal, but their noise level is different. It is sitting just outside my my error in decibel readings. So there is a difference, and the RGB version tends to be a little bit noisier. How much noisier? Again, need to do more and more retests, and I would like to acquire that better testing equipment to get myself to that next level for increased accuracy. Something that's just hard for a smaller channel like mine. But anyways, the Masterfan SF120p is sitting above them. Definitely a great result. That fan design is definitely a better pressure-oriented fan as opposed to an all-purpose fan. And the Mobius 120p is sitting right at the top. Just definitely Cooler Master continuing to evolve their fan design to make them as good as they can. Next, we have airspeed through the cooler versus decibel reading. And the ARGB has that joggle in it again, where we're just hitting a harmonic frequency within the fan. It's very unfortunate, but it still is an overall okay result. The non-RGB version, right here, is definitely sitting right towards the top of the graphs, and it's performing quite well overall. This is how the RGB looks on the Mobius 120 ARGB. Letting the fan just do kind of every color of the rainbow, just cycling through it. This is kind of the way it looks. So again, you get to see how it kind of ticks over as each of the LED lights is engaged. So before I forget, this is how the fan looks from the back. This is the RGB look for the Cooler Master Masterfan SF120m RGB. Personally, when I'm shopping for a fan, I care most about its performance and RGB second. So I'm not strongly opinionated on RGB yet because while my setup, this is my first build where I actually have a window and the RAM sticks are the first real component that I bought with RGB specifically. The hub in the middle does not appear to have any color changing capabilities. Let's take a quick look at the back of the fan just to see how it looks. There we go. I turn it around and the back. As a side note with this fan, if you just want a basic little bit of illumination, you don't even need the RGB header. See, I have it unplugged. And the inner ring just glows by itself and will give a subtle ambiance to this fan. This is the RGB appearance for the Cooler Master Masterfan SF120p
And well, this is what it looks like with it rotating through. And because there are so many LEDs in this, it has a much smoother transition of lights as the colors change going around the wheel. So I'm going to try not to get the wires cut in the fan blades. So you can see that the diffusion from the outside looks really good. It's not as how should I say? You can't really see the individual lights as well. So this is actually one of the better setups I've seen. Now from the back, it looks pretty bad in my opinion. Like that, you can just see that it's just basically a regular looking fan. Anyways,
next up in testing is CFM testing. I did do it, and I think I did a pretty thorough job. We've got my control fan right here. We've got the other fans, the master fan SF120m RGB lining up just underneath my control fan. We have the non-RGB one just a little bit underneath the ARGB one, and we got the SF120p following a lot lower than that. In terms of noise testing, we have my control fan sitting right here, and the master fan SF120m non-RGB is following along my control fan fairly closely. The P is doing slightly, sorry, the SF120p is doing slightly better than the RGB version of the SF120m. So again, I just think I got a lemon in that fan design. And how does it compare against other fans? Well, the non-RGB version of the SF120m is really a top pick in this type of category. It's really performing quite well. Then we got the Mobius, and we got the SF120m ARGB sitting right down there. At 100% PWM fan signaling, the RGB version of the Mobius is sitting pretty close to the top, but not, well, it's still calling in a very good category. The SF120m non-RGB is sitting in a pretty good spot overall. It is behind the A12X25 in this test, so this is why we take a look at it in all sorts of perspectives so that we can determine how best to use a fan in each particular type of application, or if it's a good all-rounder. And then we have the RGB version sitting right here towards the bottom. Then we got CFM versus decibel rating. Right here is the RGB. Then this purple line is the SF120p RGB. And then right here we have the SF120m non-RGB sitting right towards the top. Now this brings us to value proposition. Value proposition is just this very simple calculation. It is airspeed or volumetric flow rate divided by money. How much does it cost? So we're going to go over some prices of the fans before we get into the details. The SF120m RGB is a $38 fan. The non-RGB version is a $35 fan. And the 120p is a $35 fan. Alright, so now that all of that is said, all the graphs are going to be fairly similar on this, in that noise normalized is going to be on the left side, and 100% PWM fan signaling is going to be on the right side. And we have the SF120m ARGB. Sorry, I didn't adjust this graph properly, but it is good on the other side, so you can just track it. And I have the giant bars circling each side, so the value proposition is below average. So you are paying that RGB tax on this fan. And considering that it was a lemon in terms of its performance, that's pretty much a downer for it. So I do have concerns about Cooler Master's quality control here. The non-RGB one is actually a pretty good performer. I'd still say it's below average. It's just a little bit on the expensive side, but it's certainly not terrible. But at the 11-inch mark, doesn't really get better. They are functionally sitting around the average mark. Next, in terms of value proposition, we have the performance through the CPU air cooler, and I put them in basically average mark. They're not exceptional value. And last, but certainly not least, is CFM value proposition. Here, once again, they're sitting right around average. So where does this leave me with the SF120m ARGB, the SF120m, and the SF120p? That's a little bit tough. It's basically like Cooler Master looked at where their performance roughly sat with other fans, and then went, well, we're going to make our value that. Or we're going to add these extras to the frame design, you know, the metal pieces or the RGB or whatever like that, but not really focus in on the manufacturing. So it makes it a little bit harder to sell, and this is a limitation with my testing. I like to add longevity testing to my testing procedures. It's just outside of my scope capability at this point. They definitely have good performance. If you can get a good one that doesn't seem to be exceptionally noisy, then it's certainly a good pick. They move a lot of air at times. Certain models don't produce a lot of noise, so I put it as okay. I don't put it as a top value pick. I don't put it as terrible fan. I would just say it's okay. And last but certainly not least is, at the end of every video, I do like to show off my raw data. This data does belong to me. However, you do have permission to use this data to make your own Excel charts and anything like that. But if you're going to use it in any sort of video, publication, written, or journal, I do ask that you reference me and my channel, as it does take me a substantial amount of time to produce these fan videos. Each fan by itself takes me around 1.5 to 2 hours to reach this level of detail. And then it takes additional time to upgrade graphs, narrow down the selection of the data to make the graphs look readable, and then of course film and everything else. So we're looking at many hours process per fan. If you've got comments or suggestions on how I can improve my videos, I'm always looking for constructive criticism. Keyword there is constructive. I always take it. Just note that it does take time for me to implement the changes, because I tend to buy a lot of fans at once and then review it all at once. So right now I'm in the process of just refilming all this, so my previous fan data. So it may take a little while for any of your comments to roll out into a future video. Other than that, if there are particular fans you want me to take a look at in the future, please leave them in the comment sections down below. I'll be more than happy to try to get my hands on one. And other than that, please sign up, subscribe for more content. I've got a lot of fan videos on my channel, more and more upcoming. And please subscribe to my Patreon. It'll really help me go a long way in growing this channel and being able to get the equipment to basically give you the best fan data on YouTube. And well, I hope to see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.